it's been 30 years to the day, June 20, 1994, when David Bain, who was only a young man at the time, teen, rang 111 to say that everyone in his family were dead. 65 Every Street, Dunedin. He did go away 13 years in prison before the Privy Council quashed his convictions, and he was subsequently found not guilty on all charges at a retrial in 2009. Now, despite rumours he had moved across the ditch to Australia, he did go for a small amount of time, I believe. He's been here all along, 3 decades later, living a quiet life in New Zealand away from the spotlight. He's married, has children, and it was the Herald that has now publicly named him. He had changed his name for a second time after the first name change was made public. But now, as I said, the Herald has published the story revealing his new name, basically where he lives. Not an address, but saying it's a rural property in a certain town. If you read it, you can kind of put it together, and even naming the vocation of his wife, and a journo turned up on the doorstep. You know, how long when he did time and then his convictions were quashed, found not guilty, how long do you have to keep kind of being pestered, I suppose? What are his legal rights as an innocent man? What can he do? Can he do anything? I suppose he thought just keeping out of the public eye was good enough, would be it. Joining me now is Marie Dyhrberg, QC. She's a leading barrister specialising in criminal law. She's with us. Hello, Marie.
Good evening, Leah.
It's lovely to talk to you again.
The spectre of lack of privacy and the public thinking they own people who happen to have appeared in their court.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to talk about, Marie, because, you know, he was named and I mean, the Herald, I don't think, has broken any laws, have they?
Strictly speaking, no, because at this stage, David doesn't have any suppression orders in relation to his own name, David Bain. And, of course, at the time of the verdicts, it would not have been really possible for him to have applied for name suppression because it was a case that was so well publicised and his name was well publicised. But since those verdicts of not guilty and he is presumed innocent, it is deemed, obviously these acquittals are deemed that you are innocent, certainly you're not guilty, he has never sought publicity. He walked out that courtroom door, he got on with his private life. He has clearly got a completely new life. He has a family, he has children. And one has to ask the question, what on earth is the public interest in pursuing him to point out where he is living, who these children are, who his wife is, what they're all doing, and why? The case is over. The verdicts are in, and you have to say it's almost what is the legitimate purpose for knocking on his door in his own private place and shoving a microphone under him to say, well, what do you think? It's 30 years later.
Yeah.
I thought we were better than that in New Zealand, but we clearly are not.
Is there going forward, Marie, because they've printed his latest new name, going forward if he felt he wanted to change it again, how can he protect himself? Would he have to put out a suppression order?
I would think that there's no technical reason, even at this very late stage, as to why he could not apply to the courts and say, I want name suppression of David Bain, because that is the link that's going to identify him, no matter what his name is going to be. It will always be, like we're hearing now, this is his name now. He's already changed it once before, which indicates he wants privacy. He wants to protect his children from the morbid fascination of people who have no right to know what these children are doing. Sorry, excuse me, Leah.
That's all right.
But he can get a suppression order for his name and therefore any name after that identifies him or is linked to him could not be published either.
Right,
It would
okay.
be quite a complicated case, but it's open to him to do that.
So you're saying to take a suppression order if he as David Bain, not the new name. So anything linked to David Bain.
Because it would be that the suppression order would be for David Bain,
Right.
and anything that could identify him. So, of course, whatever names he then gets after that is the risk that David Bain would be identified if you publish those names. So my view, at this stage, would be the suppression order would be for his name, David Bain, and anything that would identify him in any way whatsoever. So it would be complicated. I think he would certainly meet a standard of extreme hardship, which is what you have to find. But his children, and his wife could also come under that umbrella of extreme hardship, because then they are exposed, and particularly the children, they are exposed to all sorts of things, in their lives growing up. And you have to say, let's go back, what is the public interest? There's none. What is the legitimate purpose for pursuing and not leaving this person alone? And he might well be able to claim a breach of privacy.
Okay.
Because you say to yourself, what is your legitimate purpose for publishing and splashing all over the national newspaper where I now live, where my children are, what school we're at, and what we do? Where is your legitimate purpose? I think it would be very, very hard pressed for anyone to come up with a legitimate purpose.